It's springtime, and it's time for a spring tradition, a spring sporting tradition. A treat, I think. A delicious, like an Easter egg, like a chocolate egg. We get every spring to watch Kevin Estre open up the 24 hours of the Nurburgring for the Manti Racing team. This is the bonnet we are looking over of the Manti Racing Porsche 912 GT3R, and we're about to start this race. I don't know what position we're in. Last time I did this, I had a timing replay. I don't have a timing replay this time. I couldn't find one, so we're just gonna wing it. This is gonna be even worse than the first one, and I'm so excited. And I also, the previous one, I had watched the onboard multiple times before. This time, I haven't watched this at all, so I know it's gonna be fucking great. But I don't know what I'm going to see. I don't think he gets up to first place, you know, so it's not going to be that. But that was tasty already on the first corner. Ooh, lots of dust. Yeah, I didn't watch this onboard before, but what I did do was watch the entirety. Whoa, let's go. Have him around the outside. There's not a lot of grip out there, but we made it stick. What I did watch was the entirety of the 24 hours of the Nurburgring. I did not watch it live. Let's go. Ooh! Oh man, onto the gravel. That's no good. That's going to cost us some places. Nope. This is the Ferrari in front of us. Whoa! Oh my god, they're so close! I can't believe it. Can we get around the outside here? Oh man, that was big contact there, and the BMW managed to hold the position. That's incredible. Oh, and that Porsche made it back through, and the Ferrari makes it back through. Oh well, not the best. I guess that's from getting dirt on the tires, maybe going offline. I'm amazed that that BMW in front managed to do so well despite going off the track. Oh my goodness. And we're out onto the Nordschleife. Anyway, I was trying to like intro a little bit into things that I might talk about, but I got completely distracted by watching Kevin Estre race a GT car. I mean, what a surprise. It is just, as I found last year and the year before, just one of the most exciting things you can watch in motorsports is a Kevin Estre on board at the 24 hours of the start of the 24 hours of Nurburgring. There's just nothing quite like it. So yeah, I watched the whole race. I did not watch it live. I watched it over the course of maybe a week and a half or 2 weeks in chunks, which I have never done before. I've sort of tuned into it live for brief periods of time, and I've watched obviously some onboards before. Oh man, the Ferrari getting past the Porsche. Oh, can we follow? Holy shit, man. That's bold. Incredibly bold. Snuck along behind that Ferrari. So yeah, it took me like a while to watch it, but I did watch the whole thing. And not as like a, you know, I wasn't sitting down like full focus attention on it for the whole time. I was mostly having it as like something on a second screen while I was playing a video game. But you know, the whole thing pretty much. Some of it I like watched, I think I watched more than 24 hours worth of it because I didn't always keep track of where I was, and so there's some bits that I watched twice, I think. But yeah, I don't know that I would say that I was like, what can I say? What is there to say about like watching the Nurburgring in 24 hours in its entirety? I mean, the romance of it is still there, I think, when you watch the whole thing like that, but I don't know. As an event, as a spectacle, I enjoyed, taking it all in that sense. It didn't really have the feel of a race much to me. And I don't know, like, how much of that is down to the commentary and how much of that is down to the event itself or what, but, like, in theory, there's so much racing going on in this thing. And when you see the onboards, you see how much racing is going on. But watching the whole thing, it wasn't like, I think partly it's because there wasn't a ton of lead changing. But I don't know. I felt like I didn't get the feel for any of the, like, other classes really. And again, maybe I could have, been paying more attention. Could have had, like, timing and scoring going as well as the replay, maybe. If there's a timing and scoring replay somewhere. I haven't found one if there is. See if this Ferrari can get someone up in front of us. Is that the same BMW or is that a Merc that he's fighting with now? Could not get him there. Oh, bit of a wobble on the way out of that corner there. But still closed up a lot in the high speed, just like we saw last year, and we're right back underneath the tail of our competitors. My knowledge of the circuit has improved not at all from watching the whole fucking race. It did not make a difference. But yeah, I don't feel like I know. I couldn't tell you anything about any of the, like, other class battles that were going on in the race, right? Like, I knew that, like, the lead was basically the Ferrari was out front for the whole race and won it from going away. Like, not like an outrageous lead. They had like 30 seconds at the end, but they definitely managed the garbage time and, like, could have kept pushing and probably had a much bigger lead if they'd wanted to. But yeah, just, like, it didn't feel like a race, right? Like, I wasn't, like, from a sporting perspective, like a neutral sporting perspective, I didn't feel like there was this great, tension or great drama in terms of, like, what the result of the event was going to be, who was going to win the event, like, because, as I'm listening to myself saying that, like, there was drama, certainly, but, like, the drama wasn't the drama of jump, wasn't the drama of, like, who's gonna win this closely fought competition, really. Like, I'm sure there... Whoa! Oh my god. Just heart in mouth stuff for Kevin Estre. Does not seem like as planted in this Porsche, I have to say. I don't know if it's the track conditions or what, but, like, I feel like it's a little bit more lively than it was this time last year. And, different track conditions, obviously, because of different weather, but also I'm sure the car is a little different year to year, and, like, setup is going to be a little different year to year. So yeah, I'm curious to see if I notice more about what's different. I am glad I watched the whole thing because, like I said, even if there wasn't a great, like, deal of sporting tension or a great, feeling of drama of a sporting event of, like, back and forth and, tactics and, gutsy performancing coming through in the clutch, all these sporting things. Take a pause here to see. This video is not as good as the quality I got last year. I'm sad to say. The official channel onboard is like privated for some reason. Well, I think I know the reason why. So this is just someone who obviously captured that before it was made private. So it's a little bit down-resed and chunky, unfortunately. So that Ferrari did make it by. I think this is a Porsche in front of us. This Ferrari, I think that we were behind, is the same model of Ferrari as the race-winning Ferrari, which was, it was a good story, the winning car. So it was like, it's a new model of car. So it was like this model of car. Not it's not the first Ferrari to drive at this race in any class or even in the top class. I would guess. I feel like there probably have been Ferraris in the top class before, but This was a new model of Ferrari racing in the top class at this race. And it was a team that used to drive a Porsche as their like lead car, and switched to driving this new Ferrari, which is sort of like a bold move to do, especially I think for a German-based team. I think the team that did it is German. So, you know, being at a German race and having switched away from a German car to an Italian car, sort of something interesting there in some ways. And then there's also a thing which, like, I'm not as sort of I don't want to be unkind towards the depth of emotion that was on display from the commentary team about the connection of the one of the drivers in that winning car, the winning Ferrari. Oh, we just got let through there by that other Porsche. Basically, it was just like, on you go, Kevin. Indicated and let Kevin through going up the Nordschleife. I don't know if that was tactical on their part of like not wanting to lose time fighting with Kevin, or if they're teammates. I don't know. That was interesting. Anyway, what was I saying? I was gonna mention Sabine Schmidt. So Sabine Schmidt is sort of a figure. Oh, we're looking behind now. This is interesting. A figure in the popular culture of the Nurburgring as a competitive driver, but also as like had appeared on, you know, on TV shows. I think she appeared on Top Gear maybe more than once, and passed away fairly recently. Man, I feel bad. I should have looked this up now. I guess I was trying to be respectful, and then now I'm like, I don't know. I believe that she died crashing a car, which is not too surprising for someone in her profession. But anyway, her former partner was one of the drivers in the winning car, and so that was another part of the story that was clearly meant a lot to the commentators, who clearly you know, really seemed to really feel the loss of Sabine Schmidt very, very deeply, which yeah, I can definitely respect. So in that sense, there was like a good story behind the winner, even if it wasn't like oh, they didn't really, you know, pull out some amazing strategic masterstroke or some, you know, incredible piece of brilliant driving at just the right time to win it. They just sort of got out front at the start and stayed out front the whole time and just were like consistent and fast. And then like so you know, there's that nice story behind the winner, and that sort of made it feel like a feel good watch, at least in that sense, right? You feel good, you feel like you can root for the team that won, and that they had an interesting story. And then, you know, there is the drama of the event as a whole, right? Even as not a what am I trying to say? There's the drama of just like everyone's trying to get to the end of this thing, and there's like that camaraderie there. So there's that sense of like, and especially as a fan, as a viewer, you know, wanting everyone to, you're rooting for everyone in this race, weirdly, right? Like, it's not okay. Cinema Sins ding counter, like, first mention of Formula One. We're going to talk about Formula One a bunch more, but, you know, I find myself watching Formula One. There's people that I root against in Formula One. There's people in Formula One where when they win, I'm like, man, I'm kind of bummed. And I'm sure you'll be able to guess from things that I'm going to say later who I'm talking about when I say that. But, you know, lots of people, I think, lots of Formula Ones feel that way. I guess, I don't know, that's the conversation is like about Formula One fandom and where it is and how hostile it is. God, this car is so loud. But yeah, I'm not rooting against anyone in the N24, and partly that's because I don't know most of these racers that well. I'm not, you know, immersed in GT endurance racing enough to really like know who the dickheads are. Maybe Kevin Estre is a massive jerk. Who knows? That's such a good section for Kevin, man. Right up behind this Ferrari now. So yeah, you're rooting for everyone, and you're rooting for the event as a whole. You know, like, I don't know. We'll talk about the commentary a bit more, because obviously that's a huge part of a 24-hour event, and like, They obviously have a sort of rotating team of people. They also have guests on. They have people on who like have just come out of the car, having done a stint in the race and come on. So that's cool. You know, the commentators are a mixed bag. I wouldn't say they're like universally great, all of them, but none of them was like terrible. And they do a lot of podcasting, obviously. Like, it's a 24-hour event. You have to fill a lot of time, and there's not always something to talk about, especially in the fucking dark. So, you know, they be podcasting, and sometimes that's interesting and sometimes it's not. But they're, you know, obviously wax lyrical about, oh, here we go, here's our first lap traffic. That car got fucking wrecked in this race. That car is like, so speaking about rooting for everyone, like, that specific car is, you know, specifically the slowest car at this race and is the slowest car at this race every year, but keeps running and everyone roots for them, and it's like a fun, cool thing that they do, and they try and go as fast as they can every time, even though they're the slowest car. But that car got fucking totaled, I think, in a wreck with, whoa, again, going over this stretch. Oh my god, getting so loose and squirrely, but somehow staying in it, staying within touching distance of these cars in front. But I don't know, not looking too dangerous to make a pass here. We'll see on the big Dottinger straight if we can get closer to them. It's the kind of carousel. The commentators are very caught up in the romance of the event itself, right? That it is this big week-long party. You know, they talk it up a lot, and the way they talk it up reminds me a lot of Glastonbury, right? Of like a big camping festival. And there is Rock am Ring happens at, obviously, this exact festival. I probably said this exact same shit last year, huh? But that atmosphere of like people being there all week and the drivers being there all week, and like the, you know, things happening all week and people partying all week, and, you know, generally a lot of day drinking, I think, is going on, and generally a good time is being had by all. So the Ferrari's made a pass, but are we going to be able to follow through? He wants to follow it through so badly. The BMW is too big. So the commentators talk a lot about just like how great an event it is, and how great the atmosphere is, and how great the crowd is, and how great all the drivers are, and how great all the teams are, and great all the mechanics are, and how, like, you know, much of a labor of love it is for everyone, and how much great all the marshals are, and how great the repair teams are. And like, it's earnest. It's not just like, you know, fluffing up the event to make it seem better than it is. It is earnest, and I think it's, you know, for the most part, seems like pretty accurate. It seems like it is a pretty special event, and people involved do, you know, really love it and really feel great about doing it. And you get that sense watching it, and so it's fun to watch it for that reason. I think, you know, sometimes the commentators do over-egg it a bit, and it gets maybe a little tedious, but yeah, I don't hate it. I don't know why it popped into my head, but it did. It popped into my head right now as I'm watching this BMW in front of us, and watching Kevin not really get past it on the Grand Prix circuit, or not looking likely to do it, unfortunately. Someone on my previous Kevin Estre onboard commentary video, lapped this tiny little car. I got some great comments as always, and I got a surprising number of views as well. But someone commented like, "Oh, worst commentary ever," and I just made me smile, and still makes me smile when I think about it, or when I look at that video and see that comment of like, yes, you know, why do you think like the medium is the message in some ways? I don't know, like, yeah, I'm putting out my motorsports commentary on my, you know, YouTube, on a YouTube channel with 10 subscribers. Like, I don't know what level of quality you are expecting, my man, but I'm sorry that I failed to meet your expectations. And it, yeah, like I said, makes me smile still when I think about someone reacting that way to my video of talking about Kevin Estre and other such things. And that's part of why I wanted to do it again. Yeah, what else do I have to say about the N24 as like a whole event experience? I mean, I don't know. Will I watch it again next year? I'm not sure. Might depend what state my life is in at that time. Whether I find myself with large amounts of time within which to watch a endurance motorsports event, or will I not? We'll see. Oh, we're getting right with this BMW. We're getting right with it. Ooh, look to the outside. Do not want to go into that back marker there. Thank you very much. I did learn more things about the event, I guess. What things did I learn? About, I learned that they fucking wired the whole fucking circuit for data and pictures and shit in order to be able to have really good coverage. And they also have a fucking airplane for onboard broadcast and telemetry and stuff like that, which is bananas. There's put a lot of effort in. I don't know. I'm curious to see if this race is gonna. They seem to feel like this race this year was as big as it's ever been, if not bigger. They seem to. The vibe around this event seems to be that it is growing in stature and in popularity at the moment. I don't know if it's if it's had its moment or if it will continue to grow in the wider eye of the motorsports world or not. I'm curious to see that. Especially now we're in this new era, so we'll talk a bit about some other motorsports and we'll get more into them, but briefly touch on the fact that in endurance racing in particular, we are now in the hypercar era. It's finally arrived. The hypercars are here. I feel like we were being told for so long that the hypercars were here and they were not here, but they have finally arrived. They look sick as hell, I think. They're weird. Some of them have big basking shark mouths, but generally I think they look pretty sick and they seem to drive pretty quick. There have been some races. I've watched some races. Coming up to this high-speed section again. I'm just right with these guys in front. They all got sort of checked up a little bit by the traffic heading into this section, so they were a little compromised. There's just not space. Oh, the Ferrari is going to go for it up in front. A Ferrari is going to take a place off whatever car that is in front of this BMW. But yeah, Kevin just not able to get enough overspeed to pass the BMW, but we're very close in this train of 5 now. Leaders have headed off a bit. If we can stay with them, we'll get a good slipstream on the Dottinger Hoher and might be able to make one up. I think that's a Merc. Yeah, that is a Merc in front of the BMW. What things that I learned? Oh, I learned a thing. I learned that I was wrong about something in the previous time that I spoke about this race, actually, because I talked about minimum pit stop times, and I thought that the minimum pit stop time thing was a safety thing, and I guess I was bringing that assumption from Formula E, because Formula E in early years had driver changes, and they had a minimum pit stop time, and the rationale that I remember hearing for that was that it was for driver safety, was that it was to make sure that you weren't rushing to do up the driver straps, because the only thing you were doing in those pit stops was changing the driver, right? There was no, the driver was getting out of one car and into another car. It was hilarious. I did that for 2 seasons of Formula E. And yeah, so the only thing you were waiting on to go was the driver being strapped in, so there was incentive to rush if you didn't have minimum pit stop time. So I thought that was also the reason why they had minimum pit stop time at this race, because you do a lot of driver changes. Ooh, everyone's twitching. We're right behind the BMW. But the rationale that the commentators offered is different from that. Because the minimum pit stop time is much longer than you would need to change a driver, for sure. No, there's no space there. That is not an overtaking opportunity, unfortunately. It was fun to think about, though. Playing a carousel. Past some slow cars. Oh, we just that car we just went past is another like fan favorite car. Was getting a lot of shout outs from the commentary team. Maybe it's that one that got totaled. Actually, one of the 2 fan favorite cars got totaled. I don't think it was that one. I think it was the first one, the slowest car. Okay, here we are. See if we can chase down this BMW and the Merc in front. So, I don't know. We might even see the Ferrari take another place, move to the head of this train. I think that's happening up ahead. Yeah. Image quality isn't great enough to really see what's going on, but I think that is happening. Are we going to get close enough? I think we might. I think we might have a go. Let's go. Oh, wait. Okay. Oh, it's going to be close. We're going to have to do it on the brakes. I think he might have it yet. He's got it. Okay. And we've got another BMW. So I think maybe there was... Oh, was this always in front of us? And then I just hallucinated that it was a Merc, maybe. So the minimum pit stop time isn't to do with driver safety, at least not primarily. The explanation that commentary said was that it's because of the fuel pump setup. That the fuel... Whoa! Man, I switched camera angle just at the wrong moment there, but we got a place off of that. I think. I'm confused by that camera angle swap, but I think we just overtook that BMW. I don't think that's the one we previously overtaken. I could be wrong about that. I don't have my timing and scoring. The fuel pumps at the Nurburgring 24 hours. Number one, they are just like commercial... No, we didn't overtake that BMW. It was the same one. Number one, they're just commercial grade, like gas station fuel pumps. And number two, they are shared. So there's like each fuel pump is shared between 2 different teams or 2 different cars. And it makes sense that they don't have the infrastructure for like high pressure fuel delivery systems for like 130 cars. So that is the reason for the minimum pit stop time, is so that there's never going to be conflict over who gets to use the fuel pump and how fast the fuel pumps fill. Small variations in how fast the fuel pumps fill don't matter because of how long the minimum pit stop time is. And it also helps with safety, I'm sure. But that is the main reason. Alright, back out onto the Nordschleife. Hugging the Beamer. Oh, Beamer got slowed down a lot there, but I don't think there's anywhere we can get by here. No, it's just single file, unfortunately. Anything else on the 24 hours of the Nurburgring? I'm sure other things will pop up. It was fun to watch. It's fun to watch it, day turn to night and back to day again. The shots of like people in the campground are always hilarious. The camera guys have a good time finding people like crawling out of tents looking hungover as fuck, or people cooking tasty barbecues and stuff. Lots of fireworks. The lighting situation at night, I have to say, was a little surprising. Like, the circuit is not floodlit, as I'm sure you could see by looking at it right here. Like, there's not the infrastructure that you would need to floodlight this circuit. It would be a huge investment and would cost a lot of power to do. I think the Grand Prix circuit might be floodlit to some extent. But yeah, they were saying that there are places where, I don't know if I misunderstood what the commentators were saying, but there was a point at which they seemed to imply that some of the circuit lighting is provided by the campers, that some campers are bringing light rigs that they're setting up and pointing at the circuit to light segments of the track, because it's the part that they're going to be hanging out at, so they want to have be able to see stuff at night, I guess. Maybe that's completely not true and not actually how this works, but like I said, I feel like the commentary team implied that at one point. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about some other motorsport, because I've been watching, I think, I think my motorsport intake is probably the highest it's been in a while. I feel like since last year, I've definitely started watching more and pretty consistently watch MotoGP now. There's a lot of MotoGP. I've been like watching a bit more. I'm still watching lots of F1. I've been watching a bit more like endurance racing. I'm not like watching full 6-hour races, but I've been like checking in on the hypercars. What else have I been watching? I'm watching a little Formula E. Honestly, I feel like Formula E just isn't very good. I just don't enjoy Formula E, and it seems like there's bad vibes around Formula E at the moment. I don't know what's going on. I couldn't tell you what it is, but they just lost their the lead commentator who's been with them for like the whole time, just departed very suddenly, and I feel like there's a lot of news stories about like Formula E doesn't have an audience, and you watch the races and it seems like there's no one. The races, partly this is because of the weird way that they make the circuits and the way they shoot them, but it never feels like there's people there. The races just feel like they take place just in like empty, like barriered anywheresville, so there's no atmosphere. And so yeah, Formula E, weird vibes. Have not been enjoying what little of it I have watched. Like sometimes the racing is fun and weird, but it's not always. Sometimes it's just weird and not fun. There's a lot of like deliberately running in second to save fuel, which isn't the most fun thing to watch in the world. I don't know, like I said, bad vibes around Formula 1, but I've still been watching a bit of that. What else have I watched? Nurburgring 24, fucking Dakar. I love the Dakar highlights. I could have sworn that there was something else motorsporty that I had been keeping up on, but maybe that's it. I've been watching a bit of like rally highlights, World Rally Championship highlights. There was a driver, a British driver, was killed in like testing, I think, or maybe killed in some other, not in like active World Rally stuff driving, but doing some other kind of driving. Anyway, that was very sad. Isle of Man TT is coming up this weekend. I know I mentioned it the previous time I did a talk over of a Kevin Estre on board, and jump. That's coming up, so yeah, man. I hope fewer people die this year. So yeah, what do I have to say about what I've been watching? I guess I talked about Formula E a bit. Like I said, it seems like bad vibes. I don't know if that series is going to stick around, if it's going to continue to change. Every time I watch it, I'm just like, I wish they were at a racetrack. I find myself that way with F1 as well. Like, I think it's not an uncommon complaint to hear at the moment, but I'm kind of fed up with the street circuits. Like, they're just, I much prefer seeing those cars race at purpose-built racetracks 9 times out of 10, and I feel this. Whoa, shitting hell! That's fucking tasty driving, Kevin. Yep, you just got to take advantage of those situations. Sometimes that luck is going to go for you, and sometimes it's going to go against you. And that time, BMW got unlucky, Kevin got lucky, and now we are probably getting a little bit of a tow at this distance off of whatever pixelated car this is in front. I don't think that's the Ferrari that was in front before. I think it's something else, but who knows, honestly. It's a splodge at the moment. We'll get a bit closer with time, I'm sure. There's that fucking BMW right there. That BMW is going to come back at us. Man. Every time that braking on the Dottinger Hor down into the Grand Prix circuit is intense. Yeah, endurance racing. So the new era of endurance racing has arrived. It's the hypercars. They're big, they're weird. They look funky as hell. And there's customer ones. Like, that's the big thing with the hypercars, is that it's not just going to be constructor teams running them. That private teams are going to be able to buy hypercars and to race and obviously get support in terms of like parts and technology and shit that you need to be able to run a fucking futuristic race machine. But yeah, like now that the N24's happened, Le Mans is sort of on the horizon, and the hypercars have been out at some like 6-hour races already, and then Le Mans is the big one, and then also at Le Mans, these cars, GT3 cars, are going to run at Le Mans, which they haven't before, so it's going to be interesting. Le Mans, we'll see. Maybe I'll watch all 24 hours of the 24 hours of Le Mans. Maybe I won't. I know that one of my all-time least favorite cycling commentators also usually works the 24 hours of Le Mans for Eurosport, so if I can find coverage that isn't Eurosport coverage, maybe I will watch all of Le Mans. IndyCar, that's what I was going to add in that I've been watching a bit of, that I forgot from earlier to my list of new motorsports. Yeah, I've been watching some IndyCar, which is a sport with cars. I don't know, I mostly just want Romain Grosjean to win because of the F1 connection, and because he seems nice, and because, he almost died in that crash. But yeah, I continue to not be captivated by IndyCar. I feel like this is what I said last year. I watched all of the Indy 500 this year, and I heard some people be like, oh, it was, I don't know, when I say some people, I mean the Shift F1 podcast, which I listened to. They were all like, oh yeah, the Indy 500 was really good. It was a great race. It was exciting. I did not feel that way about the Indy 500. Oval racing continues to... I continue to not see the excitement in oval racing. So, okay, I guess this is a weird thing. Oh, this Audi just got really screwed. Can we get another opportunistic pass on? I don't think we can, but we're with this Audi. Yeah, the Ferrari checked out once it got past these cars. Sort of curious to see, next year, given that this is a balance of performance class, if the Ferrari will be as quick next year. If it seemed like maybe the result this year was just the case of maybe the Ferrari was just like quicker than all of the other cars in a way that maybe it won't be once balance of performance has dialed it in a little bit better. That was not an ideal line through that sequence of corners, unfortunately. Whoop. But Audi in front also having some struggles. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, so there's this like interesting metaphorical aspect to racing that I think is brought out more by events like the N24 and the Indy 500 than it is by a Formula One Grand Prix. And thinking about, like, where that comes from is from the history of these races, and that's something that I definitely learned a bit more about by watching the whole 24 hours and listening to the commentary was, whoa, shit, come on. No space, unfortunately. Flash the lights. Oh yeah, I guess I'm already getting all over the place. I was talking about the darkness earlier, and I talked about like the trackside lighting. What I didn't say was like the fucking... It seems like it would be a nightmare to drive at night here. Not just because the track isn't floodlit and so you're relying on headlights, but because every fucking car out here has some ridiculous tricked out headlight setup going on so they can see the track better, but that means that like it's fucking everyone's lights are fucking blinding, and a lot of them even have like blinking shit on the back all the time as well. So just a nightmare situation in terms of like dazzling light sources all over the place. Nightmare. Anyway, metaphorical aspects of racing is what we're trying to talk about. So, there's like they read out a comment from someone on Twitter in the commentary at one point. It was like, oh, like watching these GT3 cars race at this race and do what they're doing now and overtake a lot of much slower cars that are nonetheless very fast cars. They compared it to, it's the closest thing to legal thing to street racing in traffic. And so then you talk about, it was like, what the history of this race. So the history of a lot of the first race courses in Europe is that they were ways to get races that already existed off of the roads, right? The first car races were all, as cycling races still are, on the roads, but they were not on closed roads, they were just on open roads. And so once people kind of cottoned on to how fucking dangerous car racing is and how fucking dangerous it is on open roads, and especially as you had more and more road users who were not rich fops racing their cars that cost, a year's wages to buy for an ordinary person or something like that. There was this pressure to, not continue to kill people by racing on open roads. And that led to racetracks being constructed. And so you have places like the Nurburgring that is built because there's a race in the Eifel Mountains. The Eifel Rennen race is already a race that exists in the open roads of the Eifel Mountains. And so this track is built to take it off of those roads. And I think a similar thing happens in Spa, in Belgium, right? There's already a race that's on these roads in this area, and that gets turned into a race course. I guess Le Mans is the same, right? Like, that used to be public roads in that area that the race was on, and now it's a race course. I think like there's multiple other racetracks that this is the case for. And then you look at like American racing and like what is the story that's told about the origin of oval racing of stock cars. Let's fucking go. We're gonna get this Audi. Easy. Stayed really close to him. Coming on to the Dottinger Höhe. Now we've got empty track ahead of us. I've not been keeping track of laps. I think this is lap 4, lap 5, so probably got a while to go. The BMW followed us through. Probably got a while to go before pitting. So like US racing, you have the like dirt oval racing, which is like racing on dog tracks and horse tracks, I think is some of where that originates from. But the sort of illegitimate routes that lead to the legitimate racing, as the story goes, is bootleggers. I've never been sure how much I actually buy this story of like a straight line of from bootleggers to NASCAR to IndyCar. I'm not sure I fully buy that story, but there's something there, right? And it leads to this like metaphorical idea of what the race is, what the race represents. In some ways. And so with the oval racing, with the Indy 500, what it represents in a way is you're racing on a highway in a straight line, right? Like you are racing, you're just going 500 miles in a straight fucking line. Like that's what the race is. Now, you can't really do that race, so you do it on an oval, so there's turns, and so it becomes a slightly different thing, but that is the metaphor of the Indy 500. That's like what is being represented in some sense by this specific format, is this idea of like we're just racing 500 miles in a straight line. That's what this is about. And when you think about it that way, like the race, and you look at the race through that lens, I think it does bring something out of it that isn't there otherwise, and I think it does make it more interesting. Like I said, I still didn't find the Indy 500 particularly exciting or thrilling to watch, I have to say. I can sort of follow it, like I understand what's going on. The pit stops, seem very weird and like chaotic, but I guess it works most of the time for them. Shit is nuts in the pit lane in fucking American sports. In IndyCar and in NASCAR, I feel like people just get fucking hit by cars in the pit lane all the time, and that's just how shit goes. Man, there was a crash in the Indy 500. Like, it was pretty incident free. this race also, the N24 was also relatively, for it, incident-free. There were still plenty of crashes, but they'd set a distance record, so there were not any things that affected large sections of the track for large amounts of time. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, there was a fucking crash at the Indy 500 that whipped a tire off a car. Not just a tire, but like a wheel. Right, Indy 500 is open wheel racing, so the wheels are very out there and very exposed. So, but they're supposed to be tethered to the body of the car. And yeah, there was a crash, which was not a particularly like horrendous or scary crash, but just the particular way that the particular like interaction of two cars on each other. Love watching Kevin through this section. Oh my god, so good. The particular interaction of cars, it almost felt like the pinch in Rocket League, right? Where you pinch the ball between the car and the wall and it just squirts out at like an unreal speed. It was like that happened between two cars, and the thing that got shot out was one of the wheels off of one of the cars, and it just fucking flew. It took off, and I think in some ways it was like good that it had such an unreal amount of speed and on it, because it cleared the catch fence and cleared the grandstand, and I think it took out someone's car. I think I saw a thing of like a guy's gonna get a new car because his car got totaled by a fucking wheel falling on it in a parking lot. But yeah, if it had gone like slightly less of an insane velocity, it would have fucking landed in the grandstand and killed like 8 people. It was an insane wreck. Yeah, I don't know if they're going to like revisit the tethers and how they're built and where they are and see if they can stop that from happening again, because it was terrifying. Anyway, Indy 500 is a race in a straight line, right? That's the idea. And so the Nurburgring 24, like, it's a race on country roads in the Eifel Mountains, and it like, you know, and it's through traffic, right? Like, it's on open roads, right? There's like, you're on twisty, dark, unlit roads in the mountains rather than on a big, straight, flat American highway. And there's other people about, there's other cars about. And that's like the metaphor, that's the metaphor of this event. That's what it is representing, right? Is like, it is, you know, it's like an old, like, open road rally, the Mille Miglia or something like that, right? Where instead of 24 hours going around in a circle, it's, okay, we're, you know, driving from one end of Germany to the other end of Germany through like the most mountainous route possible on open roads, and that's what the race is, right? Like, that's sort of what is being represented in the N24. And again, I think like you look at it with that in mind, and it does bring something out of the race. It does bring it to life a bit, and it's already a very fucking exciting event. That is fun to watch just for the unique character of it, even if the sporting drama of it was not vivid. Yeah, it's still just cool to watch. Go on, Kevin. So yeah, I watched all the Indy 500. I've watched like highlight stuff from other IndyCar races. And yeah, still not super into it. I don't know what it is. I guess I wish I had a better answer for why I'm just not captivated by it. I'm just not engaged by it. I wonder, I'm, you know, trying to I'm comparing it to Formula One, right? Obviously, because that continues to be the motorsport that I am the most engaged with, the most connected with, that I watch the most of, that I consume the most, like, other stuff besides just the races related to Formula One in terms of news and opinions and blah 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 memes. And I wonder, you know, how much of it with F1 is that I do have this connection from having been engaged with this racing series to some extent, sometimes a greater extent, sometimes a lesser extent, but, you know, for a large part of my life, maybe, you know, 3 decades or so, that I just have more connection to the teams and the personalities around the sport, and so I'm just like more connected to it in that way. Whereas yeah, with IndyCar, I'm still like, it doesn't hurt that the liveries are terrible and change all the time, but I just don't know who the teams are. You know, I know the drivers a bit by name, but I don't know who any of them are, like, personality-wise at all. So I'm just not super, you know, yes, I could say the same thing about Formula E, right? I'm not invested in who's winning these races or not. I'm not rooting against anyone, but I'm not rooting for anyone either, right? This Nurburgring 24, you know, I'm rooting for everyone. I just want everyone to have a nice time. And like I said, it seemed like the winner had a nice story behind them that other people were excited about, so that was cool. Yeah. I don't think that car was in our class. I think that was a lower class car. I don't know if we've caught up now to this Ferrari again, or if this is again a lower class car that we are approaching behind. I don't know, they seem pretty fucking quick. I think they must be also a top class car. Oof. Picture quality. See if we're into the pits this time, or if we're going longer. You know, last year it was an early pit stop that led to the sort of taking the lead, because we're allowed to take a shorter early pit stop. Oh, here we are, into the pits. There's an Audi in front of us that we've caught up to, I think. Yeah, I'm not rooting. I'm rooting for Romain Grosjean in IndyCar, but he's not winning. So when he's not doing well, I'm not having a good time necessarily. And I'm oversimplifying. Oh, you saw the fuel up there. Look how fucking chill Kevin is. Can we get a drink? Yeah. Oh, he gets a gel. That's interesting. I guess a nice fruit gum. What was I talking about? So yeah, I've been watching like extended highlights of IndyCar. Hello, Kevin. Kevin's looking right at me. Right in my eyes. I love you, Kevin. IndyCar not doing it for me. MotoGP, I've definitely felt more engaged in. I felt like I'm getting more out of the races. I feel like maybe as a like new watcher, it's sort of the worst time for them to have just changed the format to have the sprint races. So MotoGP used to be very much like Formula One, slightly different in the ways that the weekend played out, but you had, you know, a Grand Prix weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and, you know, you had practice and qualifying on Friday and Saturday and the race on Sunday. And that was broadly the pattern. They have now switched to doing a sprint race on Saturday and a Grand Prix on Sunday. And Formula One is also doing that, but only on 6 races this year, I think. But they want to do more. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'd almost rather if there was just one Grand Prix to watch. I kind of don't. I'm not ready for that. Ooh. What's going on? We're still going? This is going to come back? I think this is going to come back. We're just going to leave it. Maybe we're not going to leave it. Maybe we're going to skip ahead until it comes back. Okay, we're back. We're on our outline. I've lost my train of thought on Motorsport. MotoGP. I think I've watched pretty much every race, every sprint race. And yeah, I'm starting to, you know, get to know the riders a bit more, starting to understand the sport a little bit more. It's like fun racing, definitely. I feel, I guess, a bit more scared watching it than I do. I feel like pretty comfortable watching things like this or F1, that I know like what accidents are going to happen and how they happen and why they happen and like why the drivers are going to be okay. I just don't have that with MotoGP, and I think it is objectively a more dangerous form of racing, just the nature of it. You're just more exposed, less protected. Look at the beautiful sky. Oh my goodness. That's part of why there was a distance record set, was that the weather was very good for the whole race. There was some like fog in one part of the track in the morning, but apart from that, it was like clear and sunny and not rainy the whole time. Yeah, so I feel like a little bit more like nervous for the riders when I'm watching MotoGP than I do for the drivers in watching other motorsports. So that's like not the greatest. I'm not like, you know, watching behind, you know, with my behind, like peeking through my fingers with my hands covering my face watching it. It's not like that bad, but I don't know. I haven't gotten over that element of it yet. But yeah, it's fun to watch, and it seems very competitive. I guess, you know, I keep alluding to Formula One, and we'll get to it eventually, but oh boy, we're right up behind this Ferrari again. It got really screwed behind some traffic there, and we just made up a huge amount of ground. Yeah, like the championship in MotoGP is so competitive. It feels like, you know, it feels like it's absolutely anyone could win. Like someone could come out of nowhere and win it still. It doesn't feel like, and that's partly, I guess, because of the sprint races, right? Because there's like points being handed out all the time. So that's sort of fun. It feels like there's a lot more parity in MotoGP than there is in F1. I mean, I guess, you know, that's true. Like any other form of motorsport has more parity than F1. I guess you could argue that top level endurance racing has been dominated by Toyota for a long time, and they continue to win in the hypercars. They don't look like they're going to keep winning forever, but it definitely was like everyone else is still catching up to them, even though they've this big change of rules, big change of format, big change of the architecture of the cars. Toyota's still well out in front, and it's not too surprising because they've had the best program to do that kind of thing for a long time. So maybe there's like a similar lack of parity there, but it feels like it's getting better there, right? Like it feels like the hypercar change is closing the gap between Toyota and their competitors, and that gap is going to continue to close seems to be the expectation. We'll see if it happens. But yeah, MotoGP, it feels, you know, certainly I think the impression seems to be that the Ducati has the best bike this year, but there's a number of riders who are on that bike who are doing well on it, and it doesn't seem like their other bikes are not capable of winning the races. So yeah, I'm going to continue to watch MotoGP and to enjoy it, I suspect. Ferrari's pulled away from us a bit again, and I think, well, I guess we're on a different set of tires now, so maybe that'll make a bit of a difference, but the Ferrari, I'm sure, is also pitted and has fresh tires. In fact, they must have, otherwise we wouldn't be behind them. So I don't know if we're going to be able to get past them on the Dottinger Hill, because we were not able to do so when we were following them on the first stint. Still close up in that section though. Right on his arse. Ferrari flashing the lights like mad the whole time. So I guess let's talk about Formula One then. Man, Formula One is just bad this year, huh? It's a bummer. It feels like there's been, I mean, Formula One has just been on this wave, right? Like the Liberty Media era and the Max Verstappen era. You know, the Liberty Media era sort of started and then led as like the Max Verstappen era was beginning. And, you know, we're now firmly established in the Max Verstappen era and in the Liberty Media era. And it feels like the shine has come off both of those things. That, you know, I was never particularly a Max fan. I think I'm not as... I think there are fewer reasons to be critical of him now than there were in years past. How much of that is just down to the fact that he's winning or not, I don't know. But I'm definitely not as interested. And my interest in watching Max Verstappen win Grand Prix is definitely going down, and it is already quite low. And it seems like there's going to be a lot more of that is going to continue to happen. And yes, in part, that's because I am a homer for the British drivers and the British teams. And, you know, Red Bull is as much a British team as Mercedes is a British team, I guess, but don't have British drivers. Oh my God, it's so close to this Ferrari, but just no way past. Can we get a run on him? I mean, this is such a tricky section of the track. Here we are on the Hoa. And we're getting sucked along behind him, but he's so fucking quick. We're just not closing anymore. My God. Unreal power from the Ferrari. Cannot even think about pulling out of the slipstream. I don't think he's even going to try on the brakes. There's some traffic up here, though. It's going to make it interesting. Kevin left a bit of space there so he could try something, and here it is. But no. It was not to be. It was fun, though. But Formula 1 being bad this year, I guess, has more to do with than just like Max winning all the time, right? Max winning all the time isn't fun, but we've also now, like, maybe the rumors of Sergio Perez's death are greatly exaggerated, but I think the feeling through the early races was like, okay, if he can stay there and trade wins with Max, then he's going to be in this, but he has to stay there and trade wins with Max. And now that he's fallen off of that, even just like once, it feels like it's now that's game over, that he's not going to be able to come back from this. And maybe that's premature. Maybe it seems like it would be foolish to assume that Max will not have any bad luck or make any mistakes for the rest of the season. I did see there was chat of the like, oh, Red Bull could win every race this year thing, and I would just caution them to remember when Mercedes, there was at least one of the Hamilton Bottas years, maybe it was 2019, I think, where Mercedes came out the gate and were 1-2 in every race. Up through the first however many races of the season. I think they did it deeper into the season than Red Bull have done it so far, but maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know where those two streaks are at. But yeah, I don't think that's likely to happen. I think that almost certainly someone else will win a race at some point. Something weird will happen at some race and someone else will win. It could have happened at Monaco, right? Like it was a weird race at Monaco with weird weather. Maybe if Aston Martin hadn't made a bad strategy decision about tires when the weather was changing, that could have been an opportunity for Max to not win a race, but no. I mean, Monaco's always boring, so what do you want? It was a more exciting Monaco than usual. But yeah, the other races in general, like, I don't like the street circuits, right? Like, I don't like Jeddah. I don't like Miami. Monaco's at least got history, right? Like, Monaco's got some things going for it by virtue of having been around for so long. These other ones, I just don't care about. Even the shine has come off Baku. Like, Baku used to be like the cool one of the street circuits, and this year it was just as bad as all the other street circuits. It's fucking dismal. And you know that they just want more street circuits, right? Because we're doing Vegas. The Vegas race, I guess, at least will be a novelty this year, but I don't know. Like, the Miami races also they've tried to be like, oh, it's such a novelty. It's the Miami race, the Miami Grand Prix. All the stars are here. Miami has the Dolphins, the greatest football team. They take the ball from goal to goal like no one's ever seen, and other such things. And it just is a shit race on a shit track in a fucking parking lot. It's no good. It's not fun. So Formula 1's boring in the sense that Max is always winning. Formula 1's boring in the sense that the shine has come off the Liberty Media era, and this like push towards all these street circuits does not feel positive. The push towards sprint races, like, I'm not like massively against it. I'm not like, oh, but I'm also not convinced by it. They continue to not all be that great, and so if you're having like two sort of mediocre races in a weekend instead of one mediocre race in a weekend, are you doing better than you were before? I don't know. And yeah, you know, other things I'm bummed about at F1. You know, I'm bummed about McLaren being rubbish. I'm bummed about Haas continuing to be rubbish. You know, Aston Martin doing well is nice. I'm not the biggest Fernando fan. I don't hate him. But I'm not like super stoked for how well Aston is doing necessarily. I think part of that is, you know, like the whole Lance Stroll, Lawrence Stroll situation. I don't know, maybe that is a bit of weird like F1 parochialism where it's like, oh, our good old fashioned, you know, garage racing teams being bought out by Canadian fashion magnates. Which, you know, whatever, that's how the sport has always been. But yeah, I'm bummed at, you know, like my minnow teams that I like are doing very badly, right? McLaren are doing very badly, Williams are doing very badly, Haas are doing very badly. Those teams seem a long way away from the teams that are doing okay. Alpine has drama. Lots of teams have drama. I think that Haas is going to be Alfa Romeo next year, so Alfa Romeo will become Audi and Haas will become Alfa Romeo, so they'll still be an Alfa Romeo team next year, but it'll be a different team. Sport's crazy. I keep stopping to drink with my throat killing me. I was not somehow prepared to talk this evening. I'm just going to enjoy some of Kevin's driving for a bit instead of waffling about F1. I had to take a couple bites at the entry to that one, man. Yeah, I do think the Porsche does not seem as planted as it did last year. It just seems like there are more times through more parts of the lap where, you know, he's having to take more goes at getting into a corner or getting out of a corner, or it just doesn't seem to be as rock solid stable as it did last year. I mean, still fucking quick, obviously, and is staying with this Ferrari despite it clearly having a power advantage. A pretty good entrance onto the Dottinger Hoher, but I feel like it's going to be the same as last time, right? Like there's just not enough power. We're just not getting any closer. We just are exactly as close as we were at the start of this. It's ridiculous. We'll see if he has another look. I mean, again, there's going to be traffic up ahead in the braking, so yeah, he's going to show himself in the mirrors, but no, there's nothing there. Nothing to be done about the Ferrari. speaking of Ferrari, we're mentioning F1 as well. Just like, I don't know, man. I guess the one sort of aspect of F1 that is still generating interest is like the team drama. Like, there's lots of drama and lots of teams, right? Like, the racing is not very dramatic. It's just Red Bull winning. There's no drama at Red Bull because there's a clear pecking order, right? In the back room, you know, Christian Horner is the front man, but is fucking Adrian Newey is running that show, and is running the car, and is Max Verstappen is the clear number one as far as drivers go. So Red Bull's boring, but just like every other team, there's drama, right? Mercedes, there's drama because the drivers are pissed off for different reasons, that they have not had a competitive car for the past 2 seasons. Lewis is mad because he's used to winning championships, and George is mad because he was kept on the bench and promised that he would get up to the big leagues eventually, and then when he did eventually get up to the big leagues, they were no longer that big. Ferrari is just always drama and continues to be always drama. It does not seem like they have resolved their issues with calling race strategy, reacting to situations that develop as a race unfolds. That still seems to be a weakness. And the cars, I don't know, they feel like maybe it feels like Ferrari missed their window, maybe, like that they had an opportunity with good drivers and a good car to make a run at a championship, and they just weren't able to put it together, and it now feels like their package is like less competitive, and that maybe, I don't know, I wonder if they're just going to continue to fall away slowly. That like they're not going to have a calamitous fall to the back of the grid, but that, I don't know, institutionally they may be now headed in the wrong direction. We'll see. There's just no one that inspires you that like, oh, these guys are really going to take it to the Red Bulls. They're really going to develop the car well through the course of the season and be able to put up a fight at the races later in the calendar. Like, I don't know. Doesn't seem like Merck is going to do that, right? Like they've just abandoned their whole concept of the no side pods that they ran for last year and this year, and they're going to go to copying someone else. So they're going to have to, get used to that new car concept and get that up to speed. So that's going to take forever. Yeah, Ferrari just don't seem like they have that ability to get better through the year. It feels like they consistently are a team that like loses out in the upgrade race to Red Bull and to Mercedes over the course of the year. So they're not going to come back. It feels like, I don't know, like the hope is like some Alonso magic, or just, a crazy race, right? Like bad timing for a crash in a safety car that gives someone else incredible track position at a place where it's hard to overtake, and they hold on for the win until Max doesn't get it. That's going to happen at some point. But that doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be exciting racing once that happens. Like, I don't know. Formula One, I'm just not sure anymore. The like engine freeze also makes me feel like Red Bull's just going to keep winning. Because that was the place where like Merck and Ferrari, were able to compete with Red Bull, really? Like, you can't compete with Red Bull on aero as long as they have the fucking Vortex Whisperer Adrian Newey designing the cars, but you could beat them on power, and they did. Ferrari did, and Mercedes did for a long time. But yeah, Red Bull basically managed, by lobbying in the back room to get the engine regulations frozen, I think until 2026. And even then, I think they're going to be pretty similar to how they are now. So no one is able to make any, make any changes, make any inroads. And we're just stuck with sort of uncompetitive racing. It's not all doom and gloom. As I said, it's not all doom and gloom in my mind. I'm thinking about Lando Norris. I'm thinking about how sad Lando Norris seems this year. And that is definitely a big factor in, like, F1 just not being fun this year, right? Daniel Ricciardo's sort of clowning on the fringes, but he's not really there, Even Bottas doesn't seem like he's having that much fun. Bottas is having fun with his life off the track, but he doesn't seem like he enjoys driving the Alfa Romeo this year. Are we in a slow zone? We must be. Yep. Waiting. There's a car being towed here, I think. Peas and rice. Are we going to get in trouble for that? Was that legal? I don't know. That's one of those things where, like, knowing where the marshal posts are is very important, because clearly Kevin knew when they were back to green. Man, that was weird. I don't understand what the Ferrari was waiting for, but got him. I think I learned about the rules and regulations is that, yes, when there's stuff going on, barrier repair, a car being recovered and stuff, they will have yellow flags, which mean you have to slow down, you can't overtake. Have slow zones, code 120, code 60, enforce maximum speeds. They don't necessarily have those just for non-race vehicles driving on the track. So once the car is on the flatbed and the flatbed is driving off of the track, that's just a car on the track. That's just a vehicle on the track. It's not. There's not going to be yellow flags necessarily, or maybe there will be yellow flags, but there's not going to be a maximum speed limit. Okay, I think he's been told to give the place back. Okay, he must have been. Because Kevin just slowed big time at the end of the Nottingham there. Big lift. And I think it must have been that he's either been told or he's figured out that he overtook those two cars too early before the end of a restricted zone where you're not allowed to race. And so he's given them back the places in the hope of avoiding a penalty. Or maybe this was the penalty, just to give back the places. I don't know. So yeah, if there's like track work vehicles, recovery vehicles driving along the track to get somewhere, there's no limit to how fast you can go when you're past them, which is I don't know, man. I guess, like, think about this race and the way that it is already. There's already slow cars everywhere. Not like flatbed truck with a race car on the back of it slow. They're not that big. But, navigating slower cars is part of the thing. So the rule is you have to be single file when you go past course vehicles. And they all have yellow flashing lights on them, obviously. But yeah, you have to be single file. So you can't overtake someone while you are also passing a course vehicle. But if you're single file, you can go past the course vehicles at maximum racing speed, and they do, and it's fucking terrifying every time. but it seems to work for this race. You know, I don't think I saw. I mean, I don't know. One might assume that if there was an accident involving a course vehicle, they would not show it on TV necessarily, but on the broadcast, I don't think I have seen or heard tell of an accident involving course vehicles in any of the ones that I've watched, at least. You know, there's some hellacious accidents involving the fucking race cars hitting each other, but not the course vehicles. So yeah, I guess it works. So we've got a Merc in front of us now. And the Ferrari in front of them. And there's a wall of traffic in front of the Ferrari. Get past the Porsche Cup car, I think. We'll see on the dot of the this time if... Oh, my cat is crawling into my lap. If we can maybe get by the Merc, or if the Merc has the power to get by the Ferrari. We shall see. My cat is being annoying. Okay, cat is there. So good on the brakes. I used to watch a lot of Jimmy Broadbent content. I guess I went through a period of watching a lot of Jimmy Broadbent content. And for some reason, I don't know if it was because of something I did or just the whim. Oh, Jesus Christ, BMW, get out of the way. No. Oh, this is terrible. Oh, that was the worst. Okay, see, that was that, you know, like I said earlier, sometimes the luck is with you and sometimes it's not. That was one of those not with you sections. This is such a difficult part of the track to get through traffic on. Oh, and again. Oh, Jesus Christ. So that was like we were overtaking a car that was already overtaking slower cars. Multi-class racing, baby. Okay, we're right up on this Merc. Gonna show ourselves. Oh, he left the door open, but couldn't quite make it through. But yeah, letting that Mercedes know that we're here, and if the Merc is far enough behind the Ferrari to not get a good draft off of it, could be an opportunity. Oh, he made up a lot of ground to the carousel, actually. I feel like most of the most consequential incidents that happen in the race were when, like, happen at least a couple times. Like, when a car crashes badly enough that it damages the barriers and the barriers have to be repaired, that always takes a while and causes a fair amount of disruption. But when a car, like, you can see how much elevation change there is on this circuit. A car crashes badly enough that it, like, splits open a radiator or, you know, some other thing. Wouldn't be a fuel tank because I'm sure they're very well armored and protected, but something gets punctured, and because of where the car is sitting,
whatever it is that's leaking out of whatever's been punctured is flowing across the track. And that then inevitably leads to immediately more people crashing, because cars drive through whatever it is and get it on their wheels and then slide out and crash. Obviously you can see that that's happening. I imagine most drivers would be able to notice that that has happened. I'm sure they try and compensate, but it still seems to be like throw them off enough, make things unpredictable and different enough that it seems pretty consistently to cause more crashes. And then they like put down a ton of like brick dust or whatever, concrete dust, to kitty litter to absorb it. And so then there's tons of dust all over the track as well, and that complicates things as well. Alright. Not the best exit onto the Dottinger Horror that we've ever had, but not the worst. And I think the Merc is not getting close enough to the Ferrari. We saw how fast the Ferrari was anyway, so I don't think the Merc will be getting past. But can we close in on this Mercedes-Benz? Doesn't look like it, you know? Not enough. Not enough. Probably show... Ooh, big bottoming out moment there. Show ourselves in the mirrors? Nah, not even a little peek. I can't shake the feeling that like 2022 Kevin in the 2022 car would have had this dude on the Grand Prix circuit somewhere on this lap. Oh, very late apex to that whole complex. I feel like not the fastest way around the corner, but made it work. Turning the volume down a little. I can only handle so much of this Oh, so was I mentioning Jimmy Broadbent? I forgot to. I finished. What was I? The reason that I brought Jimmy Broadbent up, I can't remember what distracted me from Jimmy Broadbent. Probably fucking racing. I brought up Jimmy Broadbent because the reminded me again of him, because he described this car as reeing very loudly, which it does. But because he copied me. Obviously, I'm the first person to ever have the idea and execute on the idea of talking over some Kevin Estre onboard footage, and therefore that idea is my idea. No one else could use it, because that's how intellectual property works. So Jimmy Broadbent owes me all of the money that he made from his video talking over the onboard of Kevin Estre from the 2021 race, or whatever race it was where he went from 13th to 1st. Jimmy Broadbent did a video talking over that. Which, yeah, I don't actually want. Well, I would like his money, but that's not a real thing. But what I do think it shows, is that I have good taste. Game respect, game. Jimmy Broadbent is not the most legit racing driver in the world, but he's not a legit racing driver. And he also has massive respect for Kevin Estre, and loves watching his onboards. So, you know, I feel like that's an endorsement, a good endorsement of my views on Kevin Estre and watching his onboards. Keep showing ourselves in the mirror of this AMG. Maybe feels like it's going to take some luck with traffic to get him. I don't know if the draft on the Dottinger Höhe is enough. It seems like maybe that Ferrari in front is giving the BMW enough of a tow to keep it out of our clutches, even with the double slipstream. With some yellow flags. Slowing down. See if we try something cheeky on the end of the slow zone like we did last time. Get in trouble again. He's thinking about it. Well, there's a Marshall post, and that was it, I guess. Like knowing where the Marshall posts are to make sure that you have the sight line to the Marshall post that's coming up, so that you can see the flag that's telling you that you're allowed to go back to racing speed is at that Marshall post. Oh, so they're white flags for these guys. Okay, so here's exactly what I was talking about, right? Like, there's a course vehicle, there's a course vehicle. There was no speed limit. There were flags to let us know that they were there, and we couldn't have overtaken while we were going by the course vehicles, but there was no speed reduction required. Oh, bit of traffic luck, yes please. Not quite enough. Just let the Ferrari get a bit of a gap. So I feel like that's if the Ferrari can get ahead up the road so that the Merc doesn't get as much of a tow, that might make the pass on the Dottinger Höhe possible. We shall see. Look at those crowds. A lot of people. I think they said like 200,000 people over the course of the week was the attendance, something like that. My understanding is that this track is in the middle of nowhere. Like, it's not close to a major population centre as far as I'm aware. See, again, I think that the Ferrari is close enough to be giving the Merc enough tow that we're not going to get him unless we get a much better exit here. But no, I think maybe closer than last time. I don't know if we're even closer than last time. In the same boat though. Well, it feels like we're closing. It did not feel like it was happening last time. Oh. Is it going to be enough, or is it going to be too little too late? We're going to be able to have a look in the mirrors, but I think it's going to be just that. Yeah, just a look in the mirrors. No real attempt at an overtake. And the Merc has dropped back a little bit from the Ferrari. But not a decisive difference yet. Don't think anyone was fooled by that one. But a nice exit out of that tight complex though. BMW just pulling away. Mercedes just pulling away. Oh. Is there a chance? No. There's a... Oh! Oh! Oh, shit! Oh, it's beautiful driving. My god, it's terrifying when there are these slower cars involved, but... Man, if you know what to do, if you know how to take advantage of it. Goodbye, Mercedes. Now that Ferrari is checking out. We gotta catch up. Look like good draft, if we can. Lots of traffic at this point in the race. Oh, Lord. Cam is freaking out. I think the Ferrari is with another top class car up ahead, and I think they're pulling away from us, unfortunately. Yeah. Got a bit of ground back through there. Yeah, that car in front of the Ferrari has got to be another SP9. Top class GT car. There's another Porsche up ahead, perhaps. I think the Ferrari will probably have it on the Dotting this time around, given the pace that it's been showing. I'm not sure what that car is. Not good at identifying cars, and the video quality is grainy. And the windshield's covered with bugs now also. Did not quite hook up that corner perfectly. And the Ferrari got through on whoever this guy is. Is this an Audi? I'm sad that there's no Aston Martin in SP9 GT3 class racing. It's weird. I know I was saying earlier, like, don't care much about the Aston Martin F1 team. I feel like it doesn't feel. That doesn't feel real, right? Like they just bought the Aston Martin name and put it on this F1 team. It doesn't. I don't feel, that connection between like the road car, and the F1 car. It is an Audi car, isn't it? You know, I like Aston road cars. I don't really care about Aston F1 cars. I don't know, I'm thinking about it now. I'm thinking, like, this is also what Mercedes did, right? They bought a UK-based F1 operation that was already in existence and successful, and associated their name with it. But I feel like it's been long enough that there is some actual Mercedes-Benz DNA in the Mercedes F1 team now. It's not just the Brackley lads. No flags for a stopped car there. Back to green. Oh, big wobbles. Big camera break off. Yeah, it does look like a beautiful day to be out in a race car. Okay. See if we can get this Audi on the big straightaway. Like we're pretty good on the exit. We're pretty close here. Obviously, similarly to the mark, he's going to get in the draft off of the Ferrari. We're closing. I think we're going to get him. I think this is going to be enough. Should be alongside by the kink. And that means we're going to be in the braking zone alongside and ahead. And we take their place. Lovely work, Kev. Now, it doesn't seem like getting past this Ferrari is going to be possible without some good luck, but we'll try and hang with them. Look at it fucking disappear down the straight. Oh my god. Some fucking power. I don't understand why the Ferrari's constantly flashing lights on the back, even when he's like... I know you flash your lights to let the cars in front know you're there, but I feel like the lights are flashing even when there's no one in front of them who could possibly be flashing them. Don't understand. Right, we stayed with him through the Grand Prix loop. Let's see if we can stay with him on the Nordschleife. Oh no, get out of the way! That lost us some ground, unfortunately. Traffic helped us out a little bit. Otherwise he was going to get away. Just one twitch under braking there. Just the one. As a treat. It is fun to just like count Marshall's posts sometimes as you go, because it's impressive that they're like, there's a Marshall's post at every corner, and there are a lot of corners, and there are, you know, some more on top of that besides. And yeah, you just see like the yellow. Obviously, this video is grainy as fuck, but see the yellow high vis just flashing past like clockwork every couple seconds. Fairly sure that they are volunteers as well. Whoa, boy. Got right close to him on that one. Wow. Don't know what happened there. Oh. Ferrari maybe struggling a little bit under braking sometimes. Kevin able to get right close to him again, but yeah, it's just pulling away all the time on these straights. I'm tense. Very nice, Kevin, very nice. Oh, nowhere to put the car, unfortunately. Oh, Christ. Oh, that was contact. We hit that guy, I'm pretty sure. I think that just, yeah, it was a classic case of, I suspect, that driver saw the one car and let the one car pass and didn't realize there was a second car. And so was just going to make the apex like normal. But I'm pretty sure we hit them. Not the ideal place. Okay, we can't pass this guy because that was a course vehicle, so we had to wait behind him. Nothing we could do there, and that just got, what, a half a second for the Ferrari in front of us? Because they passed that slower car before they got to the course vehicles. Well, Ferrari had a tough time getting past that guy though, and we're back within reach. Lots of traffic here. He gets compromised coming onto the Dottinger. That could be good. We could not be closer, but we're going to have to back out a little bit. Get through this corner safely. Oh! I think this isn't going to work though, unfortunately. Because I think your boy's just got too much power. We're side drafting. Ricky Bobby, shake and bake. I'm just looking over to the left. I keep expecting to see that Ferrari nose poking through. There it is. But I think we got it. I think we've got the place because we're going to have the position into the braking zone. Yeah, that's a pass. Whoa! And we crashed. Let's go back and watch that one more time. And then we're going to end this. Been long already. Back just lets go. Yeah, this is part of why I was tense, because I knew this was coming. This was not Kevin's fault. I'm sure you'll be glad to know. It was some sort of tire failure mid-corner. Was what caused that incident. And you can hear that there's a flat tire. In fact, and it's going to be into the pits and out of the car for Kevin Estre. And unfortunately, because of that tire failure, they would go on to... The car does get repaired and goes back out. Does take longer than just the minimum pit stop time to fix. But yeah, they do eventually retire the car because they couldn't figure out why the tire had failed, basically. You know, that tire should have been fine with the amount of time it was on the car and the loads that were put through it, and something went wrong. And you see Kevin's not happy. But yeah, something went wrong. And they couldn't figure out what, and so they decided to retire the car for safety purposes, because you don't want to run a car if you're not sure that it's safe. And that's going to do it for the annual spectacle of the Kevin Estre starting the Nurburgring on board. Bit of a downbeat one this time, but we'll be back.